Hi everybody, Rix here, and in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at a drawing that was submitted by a subscriber via Facebook. And if you're interested in me taking a look at your drawing on one of my future videos, please send it to me via Messenger on Facebook. Just join my Facebook group. The link is down in the description below, and might possibly pick your drawing for a future video. Of course, I can't get everybody, but I could possibly get yours. Do make sure, though, that it is a high quality scan of your drawing and include your reference photo. More details will be down in the description area. Well, without further ado, let's get right into taking a look at this drawing. Here's a nice little drawing that I received from a subscriber. And here is the reference photo. It's a very handsome looking couple here, a beautiful young lady and a handsome young man, and this is the reference photo for this drawing. Now when you look at the reference photo and you look at the drawing, I mean there's no mistake that this is a drawing of this. But the question is whether this is a realistic drawing of this, or maybe not so much. In other words, this could be referred to more of a caricature, or what's called a graphic depiction of this reference photo here. But the question is whether the artist of this drawing here was intending it to only go this far, or the artist is trying to get it closer to this. In other words, get it to be more realistic. And I'm going to assume the latter, because that's why it was sent to me, is that you know, he would like some suggestions as to if there's anything he can do to, you know, bring it up another level. And absolutely there is. But I will say though, as for just a drawing in itself, it is a very nice drawing. As a matter of fact, when I started drawing 3 years ago, I couldn't do this. I mean, my first drawing of my sister was basically the same level, well, maybe not as good as this. And prior to trying to start drawing, I could never draw anything that looked like this. So this is really well done for what it is, and that is, it's a more of a two-dimensional drawing. And I refer to two-dimensional drawings is like what you have with cartoons or caricature type drawings. This is a really well done caricature drawing. Now, why is it a caricature drawing rather than a realistic or photorealistic drawing? Okay, let me just bring out a couple of things here. All right. Notice that around the face there is a line. Okay, and you can see all these lines, much like you would see in a coloring book. Okay, you have this line going around here. And this young lady's body here, you have this line where her skin is supposed to be. And then you have this line across the face here. Everything is a hard line. Okay, these are hard lines. Now I know there's a term for that. I don't know what the term is because I did not go to art school, but these are very hard lines, okay? And by doing that, you give it more of a cartoon type look, a more two-dimensional look. If you want to bring your drawing up a level, you want to get rid of the lines. You want to avoid lines. I have a video called Avoid Lines that you want to take a look at in the playlist. So for example, now here, of course, in the reference photo, he has a dark background here. This is all black background here, whereas it's all white here. So clearly the artist was concerned about the demarcation, or where the face ends and the background begins. This is easily accomplished by simply shading down to that point and stopping. So in this case here, where you have this line, if we were to be able to remove this line, which I can't because this is a printed copy, this is not a drawing, I cannot erase what he has here, unfortunately. I can certainly try, but I doubt if it will work. Let me see what my limits are here. Yeah, see, I'm not going to be able to remove that. But what you want to do is you want to be able to simply just shade down into it. So let's just assume, for example, let me go to an area here. Okay, let me just use what part of his face can I? Oh, this young lady's. Okay, over here you see this line. Now clearly, if you look at the reference photo, you see that the light is mostly over here, not so much over here. Take a good look at that. You can see that there is more shadow here than there is here. This tells me the light is moving in this direction. So you'll have more shade on the left side of rounded areas like her really nice high cheekbones that she has here. It will shadow the opposite end of her nose. Okay, it will shadow underneath here of her chin area and her jaw area, cheek. It will shade over here on this side of her forehead where it's bright over here. These are things you need to look for. So when you come over here and you look at the drawing, okay, what I see right off the bat is the opposite. I notice that it is darker over here. This is all darker, but yet it should be lighter. This part here should be lighter than here, but it is actually darker here than here. So the artist needs to be mindful of where the shading area is and where the dark area is. See, everything is dark over here, but it is lighter over here. It's backwards. Okay? It's kind of mirrored. So using this as an example, since I know that this area here needs to be darker, for example, coming off of the edge of her face, this is where you'd have less light. And then as you come off of that, you'll get lighter and lighter because you're coming into the light. Now she has this high cheekbone here, and here, if you don't bring it out by putting the darker areas in the areas around it, this won't come off the page. And that's what you want to accomplish here, is you want to make sure that you get these tones in where they belong. Now you see that dark line right there? Okay, there's no dark line over here. There's no dark line. So don't add anything. If it's not in the drawing, in the reference photo, don't add it to your drawing. Only put in here what you see. So in this case here, I can't get rid of that, unfortunately, so I cannot draw any kind of an improvement of it. But I'm going to put a little bit of the shading here and here. Because it's already got this here, and so I got to go a little darker just to show that it's different. coming right off this line. You don't want that line there, and I can't erase it, so I'm kind of like just making it look like it's going from dark, and then I lighten up as I move away to the front of the face and give it more of that 3D look there. Get my little paper blender here and see if I can blend from that line. See, I can't take that line off, unfortunately. That's a restriction right there. But I just want to give you guys some kind of an idea as to what you're looking for. Remember, I'm very limited on what I can do here because this is a printed copy on my printer. It's not the original drawing, so I can't make any real corrections. But I'm hoping that I can at least demonstrate a little bit of what I am talking about here. All right. So, although I can't take the line off, what I want to do is I want to show that you want to diffuse that, okay? You want to diffuse that. And notice we come from dark, and then it comes and it gets lighter and lighter as it comes towards the high peak of this cheekbone right here. And this gives the 3D effect that she has this higher cheek. Okay? Now over here, this side of the face is pretty washed out by the light, unfortunately. So there's detail definitely missing here. And you have to be careful trying to add detail that doesn't exist in your reference, because the viewer will be able to notice a big difference. Okay, so you don't want to really inject too much of your own what you think something should look like, but you want to actually see what's actually there. Now you'll notice here, for example, in the details of this side of the nose, you see where the shading is here? The shading is on the cheekbone where the light doesn't hit as much. So it comes from a dark crease right here, and then it gets lighter and lighter until it comes out here and it's all bright light. On the other side, there is nothing except just the skin tone here. However, in the drawing here, it's the complete opposite. The dark part is down below, and then the shading part, this part here, is up here, but down here, it's really, really dark. And so you don't want to make this dark if this is not dark, and you want to make sure that your shading is coming from that crease, and then it's getting lighter and lighter as you come up to the cheekbone here, and then it just kind of fades in, and then you blend it in, of course. But you don't want this right here. That's too dark, and I don't have any way of getting rid of that. I don't think this white pencil is going to do it. Let's see. I'll do a little experimenting here, but don't get your hopes up. Well, it's a little bit of an improvement there, okay? I lightened it up. There we go. So then you want to take it from here, okay, and just kind of lightly bring it up. Okay, until it just fades in. All right, so that way you kind of bring out that, hey, you know, there is a cheek here, but you can't make it as predominant as this one because there's more light over here. Okay, here's an area of the chin, same thing. You want to make sure you get that shading in there for the chin. Okay, there should be no line here at all. Okay, but rather, again, if it's got shadow, which is what you have here, just a mild shadow, it's a very thin shadow. And then it kind of fades out in the light. There's no darkness here. And again, I'll just use this white pencil here. See if I can lighten that up. Seems to work a little bit. Not bad. But you don't want no big old line there. You don't want a dark line at all. See how much I can actually fade that out. Okay. There we go. There's a little bit. But you just want it to show a slight change in tone. It's brighter here than it is here by just a small degree. And so you just need to do it by a small degree, change the tone just where the neck begins below the chin. That's all you need to do to separate the two. Okay, same with over here. Okay, you don't need this dark area down here. Can't believe I'm using a white pencil for this, but hey, whatever works, right? Okay, let's see, blend that in, and again, we'll just give it a light shadow. That's all I see down here is this light shadow. So just give it a light shadow. That's it. No line, just light shadow, and then blend it into the neck, ever so gently gradient out. Okay, here we go. Underneath the mouth, she's got this shadow here. Look at the details. Don't ignore the details. All these details of shade are important if you want to give it a more realistic look. Without the shades, without the change of tones, it looks flat. You want it to give it a 3D appearance. That means it has to have peaks and valleys. People have faces that go rounded up and so forth, and you don't want to take that away. Okay, she's got a chin. Let her have her chin. And then it just kind of lightly goes up. This fades into the light. And then you can just blend it so it's not so harsh. Like so. Okay. Then it comes up, but it gets lighter, so I just kind of lightly move my hand off the paper as I'm going to the top and just lift off and give it that rounded chin. There we go. All right. There's only so much I can do on this printer paper here. Okay, here. Notice the eyebrows. Okay, very important. The eyebrows are not that dark in the photograph. They're way too dark here, of course. The whites of the eyes. Notice here very closely, everybody. Do you see the difference of tone between the inside of the eye here and this side? That's much brighter than here, because part of the shade, the shadow, falls right in this inside of the eye. So here, these two should not be the same. This actually should be darker in here, like so. Okay? That's all part of the shading. And you never have your eyes as white as the paper except for the highlights. The highlights are good here, but the eye needs to be just mildly darker, okay, to be realistic. Okay, I can see that he did a good job of catching that detail right here, but don't leave any white of the eyes. Give it just ever so light. If it's a real white like here, just give it a little light, because you don't want it as white as the paper. And then here I see a detail that's a little different. See, this highlight is here, but it's not the same over here. So here is creative license, which is fine. You can do that. But you've got to be careful when you do that, okay, because you need to make both sides match in this case. They have slightly different highlights here. But we'll leave it at that. We can see here shading here and here and here, and then it's got this highlighted area here. This is showing that it's coming up towards the camera and then back down again. Okay, so if you're going to capture that, you got to make sure that you get that shading in there, and then you can put the shading on the other side. Another way to do it, by the way, is you can shade the whole thing and then just take your kneaded eraser and then lighten up the high point area. So like, for example, let's just say I go ahead and shade that all in like so. Okay, I normally don't do that, but this is just one way to do it, as long as you use a light hand. Okay, you want to blend, so we're going to blend. And then we can use the eraser, the kneaded eraser, to draw with. So what I'll do is I'll put a little point on it like so. I'll look at where the high point needs to be a little lighter, this whole area here. So I will come in here and I will lighten this area right here. Okay, and it makes it come off the paper towards us, the viewer. We can see that the shade is darker on the side here than it is here in the center, showing that it's got a higher, it has a higher elevation towards us. All right. Side of the face, again, notice all this over here. Okay, so that all needs to be shaded in. And of course, closer to the side of the head's a little darker, but then it lightens up as it moves away from the side and comes this way. It gets lighter and lighter. And then this, of course, goes all the way up here. This is darker up here. Okay. Apparently this object here is too low in her forehead, because you can see here, details are important. Notice this is where her head is, her hair is. This is right on her forehead. So viewers are going to pick up on that right away if you don't pay close attention to proportions and details. And this, by the way, is not even filled in. so it doesn't have any kind of mass to it at all. It's an outline. So even though it's white here, you do need to give it some kind of shading to show that it is some kind of a material. Otherwise, it just becomes some kind of a sketch outline. That's all it ends up being, is an outline, and I don't believe that that's what you want it to be. And again, I'll just come in here and I can use this blender. I can use cotton, one of those ear Q-tip thingies, earbuds. Okay, and then it just fades out into the forehead. All right, like that. Start noticing that you start getting things showing more 3-dimension. Now there's nothing I can do, of course, with most of this because it's printed into the paper. Notice the hair, for instance, details again. This is all very dark, all dark, but yet that's not what we see here. We see that light is hitting all this area right here. It needs to be conveyed in this drawing here, and if it's not dark in the reference photo, you don't want it to be dark in your drawing. So this whole area here needs to be lightened up, and if this was my drawing, I would be able to take my eraser and lighten this up. But since this is a printed copy, again, I can't do that, and I'm left with this white marker thing here to kind of illustrate the best I can that this whole area here should not be this dark. Okay. The nice thing about hair, of course, is you can take some liberties with hair, and you're not going to copy, like, for example, the every strand of hair. But you do want the tones and you want the direction of the locks to match if you're going for that realistic quality in your drawings. Okay, so this is all got to be lightened up here. It goes all the way to almost the edge here. See? And with the hair being so dark over here, and this area here, this whole area is bright light. So this has to reflect what is actually on the reference. I cannot stress enough, everybody, that you want to pay close attention to your reference. And you want to look for details of your reference. If it's not on your reference, it should not be on your drawing. Take, for example, this right here, this nostril here, okay, is much lighter than here and very slim, but here is different. It's dark and much bigger than here and here. So she may not be happy about that, and she's going to come after her brother for that one. It's her brother who drew this. So it's a nice nose, but it's not what is in the reference photo. So that is important to make sure to look at the details and give her the nose that she has. She has a very nice nose, so you want to make sure that you highlight those qualities, you know. This whole thing here it's got to be darkened in a little bit, and anyway, I cannot do too much for it's a printout, so I can't really fix a printout. But anyway, so what I want you guys to, I can't do this whole thing, but what I want to just bring out mostly is that avoid the lines, folks. Avoid the lines, and make sure that you're really just drawing shades. So from the side of the face, it may be darker, then it comes up and becomes lighter. Okay, you just have a difference in tone, and that's what's going to show separation. Don't draw these dark lines. And two, look at the details. The details tell you everything. It tells me, hey, here, got to be darker here. Okay, here, got to be darker here. Her side of the face has to be light. When you light that, darken here, bring the cheekbones out. It's like I did here. Okay, well, that's it for this one here. I think we've pretty much ran that down. It is a very nice drawing. I really like it. But if you want to bring it up to the next level, okay, no lines, and watch the tones. Okay, watch all the tones. Where's the light? Where's the shade? All right.
Okay, well, that's going to be it for this video, and I hope you were able to pick up a couple of pointers. There was two main points that I brought out, and that is, one, avoid drawing hard lines. If you want to reach a little more, get a little more realism into your drawings, avoid the hard lines. If you look at a coloring book, you'll notice they use very dark lines as the outline of all the flowers and trees and everything else, and you're supposed to color within those lines. But if you're going for realism, well, we do not have these dark lines around our features, so do not use them. Make your initial sketch as light as possible, and then use shading, dark to light, light to dark, to differentiate where one object starts and where it ends. And the second point that was brought out is to keep your eye on the details. Focus on where the light is coming from, where the areas are brightest, where the areas are darkest. If you shade accordingly, you will give it more of a 3D dimension. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. You take care. Bye now.